A quiet backstage hallway, rows of green rooms, the roar of an arena, just a muffled hum through concrete walls. A billionaire entrepreneur sits cross-legged on the floor, phone in hand, not for selfies, but to wire a donation to disaster relief. On the other side of the world, a former Disney actor pulls on a second-hand outfit for a benefit show she's playing for free. Two very different stories, but both center around one idea. The 7 deadly sins aren't just warnings from a medieval sermon. They're the fuel and fault lines of modern pop culture. The same traits that critics call vices often power the artists we can't stop listening to. The real surprise, when you map those sins to pop stars, you don't find cautionary tales, you find complex human beings using ambition, pride, envy, anger, desire, indulgence, and even slowness to change lives. And the juiciest part is how each sin backfires or blossoms, depending on who wields it. To see how greed can look like generosity, we need to start with a mogul whose billions fund more than lip gloss. Greed, Rihanna's empire of giving. Rihanna's empire is built on big numbers, #1 hits, sold-out stadiums, and a Fenty beauty line valued in the billions. It's easy to point and shout greed, but the fine print tells another story. When Flint, Michigan faced a water crisis, her Clara Lionel Foundation donated more than $82,000 to the United Way and used her tour to raise over $6 million for relief. During the early days of the pandemic, she wired $5 million to global relief efforts, sent personal protective equipment to New York hospitals, funded ventilators for Barbados, and matched $2.1 million for domestic violence survivors. By the end of that year, her foundation had donated $47 million to pandemic and racial justice causes. The lesson? Greed in the pop world isn't about hoarding, it's about leveraging massive wealth so more people can eat, drink, and breathe. The bigger the machine, the bigger the impact. And when we talk about the next sin, you'll see how a megaphone personality can both hurt and heal, sometimes in the same breath. Pride, Kanye West, megaphone, and mirror. Pride is the engine that transformed Kanye West from a Chicago producer to a global brand. It's the voice that said, "Don't just make beats, speak into the mic." Sometimes pride is loud, like the infamous moment when he grabbed a mic from Taylor Swift in front of millions. Sometimes pride funds quiet miracles. In the early months of the pandemic, West sent money to the Dream Center in Los Angeles and We Women Empowered in Chicago so they could feed children and seniors. He pledged $2 million to help the families of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, covering legal costs and college tuition for Floyd's daughter. West even invested $10 million in James Turrell's Rodden Crater art project. Pride can be messy. It can interrupt an award show, but it also builds schools, funds public art, and hands checks to families who need them. Pride pushes people to outdo themselves, but it can also stoke rivalries. So what happens when two artists get caught up in a competition fans treat like a royal blood sport?
Envy, Madonna versus Lady Gaga, rivals and reinventors. Envy is often a side-eye comment between friends. In pop, it can become a decades-long myth. Fans love to pit Madonna against Lady Gaga. Both are shape-shifting performers with avant-garde fashion and powerhouse vocals. But instead of dissolving under comparisons, they doubled down on reinvention. Madonna founded the Ray of Light Foundation and Raising Malawi, donating $1 million for a feeding compound for orphans and $1.5 million for the Millennium Villages Project. She even invested $11 million of her own money to build a school for girls in Malawi and raised another $18 million. In 2017, she opened Malawi's first pediatric surgery hospital, funded by a $7.5 million concert. Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation focuses on youth mental health. During her Chromatica Ball tour, it awarded $1 million to 22 local organizations. Starbucks added 25 cents per drink to support the foundation and matched donations up to $250,000. Envy didn't make these artists bitter, it made them better and urged them to create more space at the table, from hospitals in Malawi to mental health resources worldwide. Rivalries keep people watching, but rage keeps them talking. And one artist built a career by channeling wrath into rhymes that either offend or inspire, depending on who's listening. Wrath, Eminem. Rage is rhyming fuel. Wrath is rarely subtle, and Marshall Mathers never pretended it was. His 2000 album, The Marshall Mathers LP, detonated debates in households and halls of Congress because its lyrics referenced violence, misogyny, and tragedies like the Columbine Massacre. Politicians questioned if it should be banned. So why did millions of people still buy it? Because wrath, when controlled, can make art feel dangerously honest. Marshall's rhymes were raw diaries of addiction, poverty, and anger, but they were also technical masterclasses with internal rhymes and layered metaphors. He demonstrated that channeling fury into a craft could be cathartic for both artist and listener. In later years, his songs softened and his activism increased quietly. Wrath in pop isn't about throwing fists. It's about converting pain into verses that force listeners to confront feelings they would rather ignore. After anger comes passion of a different kind, and one superstar learned how to turn the world's fascination with her image into a force that helps children fight for their lives. Lust. Britney Spears, provocation and philanthropy. Britney debuted as a teen phenomenon with catchy hooks and schoolgirl outfits. Critics labeled it manufactured lust, while fans saw empowerment and fun. The spotlight often reduced her to her body and clothes, but she refused to stand that box. Her Las Vegas residency, Piece of Me, generated over $1 million she donated to build a 16,000 square foot facility for the Nevada Childhood Cancer Foundation. She told reporters she was proud to use her platform to support a cause so close to her heart. Lust as a concept can exploit, but in Britney's hands, the profits funded doctors' offices, treatment rooms, and play areas for children. She turned the conversation from her wardrobe to the kids she was helping. Lust sells out shows, but indulgence sells out seasons. The next sin is about more, and more. And one songstress has turned holiday overindulgence into a pipeline for charity.
Gluttony. Mariah Carey, eating up the airwaves. Gluttony suggests overconsumption. And yes, there's a certain seasonal song that dominates every store, elevator, and meme from November through December. But Mariah Carey uses her omnipresence to feed more than charts. She co-founded Camp Mariah with the Fresh Air Fund, giving inner-city kids a place to explore the arts and learn about career opportunities. She became involved after learning her sister was HIV positive and wanted to help children who lacked support. Carey is heavily involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, volunteers with the New York City Police Athletic League, and supports the obstetrics department at New York Presbyterian Hospital. She performs at charity events like VH1's Divas Live for the Save the Music Foundation, an America A Tribute to Heroes telethon, Live 8, and Hurricane Katrina relief broadcasts. Her overindulgence in the spotlight means more kids attend camp, more wishes get granted, and more hospitals get needed funds. Gluttony thrives on abundance. Sloth, on the other hand, invites criticism for doing too little. Yet one artist shows that slowing down can be both strategic and compassionate. Sloth. Adele. Patience as a power play. In the pop lexicon, sloth often stands for laziness. Adele breaks that stereotype. She doesn't rush albums, she disappears from social media, and every few years she emerges with a record so polished and personal that it stops fans in their tracks. Her deliberate pace is not about avoiding work, it's about protecting her voice and mind. When the Grenfell Tower fire devastated a London community, Adele quietly arranged a movie night for children affected by the tragedy. She organized a screening of Despicable Me 3 at Whiteley's Cinema and personally met families who had lost everything. More than 80 people died, and over 158 families were affected. She gave them a few hours of escapism and warmth in the middle of trauma. Sloth in this case is discipline, a refusal to burn out on output so there's energy left for moments that matter. After 6 sends, you start to see the pattern. None of these traits exist in a vacuum. They all transform into something unexpected when wielded intentionally. But what does it look like when you lay them all out together? The remix, when sends become services. Mapping the 7 deadly sends to pop icons reveals a truth. The so-called vices often pay for hospitals, scholarship funds, disaster relief, mental health programs, cancer care, children's camps, and community screenings. Rihanna's greed turned into tens of millions for health crises. Kanye's pride funded food banks, legal defense funds, and art installations. Madonna's and Gaga's envy built clinics, schools, and mental health programs. Eminem's wrath taught listeners about the power of turning anger into art. Britney's lust funded pediatric health care. Mariah's gluttony financed camps, wishes, hospital departments, and concerts for relief. Adele's sloth let her respond to tragedy with grace and energy. These pop icons prove that humanity isn't made of neat boxes labeled good or bad.
Instead, our flaws and strengths are tangled, and when used wisely, even the darkest emotions can fuel light. Each sin becomes a chapter in the very songbook we use to soundtrack our lives. Greed transforms into philanthropy. Pride underwrites art and activism. Envy inspires innovation. Wrath voices truth. Lust funds healing. Gluttony fills plates and camp bunks. Sloth creates space for empathy. The sins didn't ruin pop culture. They wrote its most human lines. And perhaps that's what keeps us coming back. The idea that our flaws can be flipped, remixed, and turned into something that helps someone else sing another day.